welcome again to Trans Gurus. We are here again. I hope you're enjoying our show. And tonight we're going to talk about something which is, I think it's a theme for everybody, young and old, all our transgender friends. It's called connecting to our real selves. What do I mean? What do we mean by this? We mean, when was the first time you connect to your girl and boy inside you or boy inside you? How old were you? What it made you feel? How do you cope with it? Uh, and something very important, so many years afterwards, what are your positive comments looking back at that moment? So, hey, Bonnie, where are you? Come on,
Right here.
shoot.
When you were saying that, what went through my mind was when I was in kindergarten, I was playing with a girl named Anne, and some boy ran up and pulled the head off of her doll. And the nun came over and smacked me across the face and said, "Boys don't play with dolls." And that was the first day that I realized there was a difference between boys and girls. Not that I was the smartest thing on the block. I was just me, but I didn't know anything about transgender or this or that. And like I told you, they sent my mother to a shrink when I was 6. That might have been that same year. Anyway, because they said she was raising me as a girl. But at that moment was when I realized that there was a difference. So prior to that, had I really connected? No, because it was just me every day doing what life was and didn't know any different. But I know by the time I was 4th grade, I had already picked my name that I have now, still all these years. But anyway, it evolved from that point. So to say exactly when, maybe when I got smacked is when the first time I realized that I was different. So.
Wow, incredible. Who's next? Who wants to tell something? Raji, go ahead.
Well, for me, it was probably about the age of 4. And I was intrigued with my mom's makeup and her high heels and her jewelry. And I remember seeing her makeup kit on the dresser. And I went over and I started going through it. And I took the powder and I was remembering how I saw her do it. So I was like, I put the powder and I powdered my whole face. And I took some lipstick and I put the lipstick on. And I just felt so beautiful. I, I, I marched downstairs. My father was at the table. My mom was in the kitchen. I think my uncle was over at the table sitting with my dad. And I'm like parading around. And they all were like laughing, and they're like, oh my God, like getting a kick out of it and cracking up. And I might have shared this story some time ago, but this is really, I think, my first memory of me realizing like the whole girl boy thing. Prior to that, like Bonnie, I was just doing like being me and just, but I think that moment was when I realized, okay, there's certain things girls can do that boys can't do. And I say that because my dad, all of a sudden, he gave me like this real evil look. Like he realized I was having too much fun. And he looked at my mom and he said, go wash that shit off his face, and it was like, wait a minute, you all were like laughing and I said, what happened? I didn't say that, but I was feeling it and thinking it. And so I also remember sneaking into my mom's closet, like when she went out and putting on her high heels and kind of like walking around in the high heels. But what's so funny as I got older, if my mom got a pair of shoes that were too tight for her, she would ask me to put them on and walk around in them. And she didn't realize that I was enjoying it. She thought I was, she's like, hey, come here and put on these heels so you can work them out for me. And I'm like, okay. So then I would say about a year or so later is when I started hearing the name calling, because I started kindergarten and then first grade came, and it was like, oh my God, what are these names like sissy and faggot? And I didn't know what they meant, but I knew that I didn't like the energy behind them and how they made me feel. And so those two things are like the earliest memories of me connecting to my girl inside, to the female inside of me. And needless to say, I mean, it was many years of relentless bullying and not only name calling, but physical attacks. And it made me, of course, feel ostracized and like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, because I wasn't like the other little boys. I hated sports. Oh my God, I hated sports. And I remember trying to join the soccer team just to do it, like to try to fit in. And I was so happy when how they post the cuts. They used to post like the people that made the team on the bulletin board. And I went to the bulletin board and I didn't see my name, and I was so happy. But I was pretending on the outside to my, my peers, I guess. Yeah, that I was upset about it. Like, damn, I really wanted to, and I really didn't, So, yeah, that was pretty much a lot of years of struggle and trying to fit in and trying to find my way and all of that. But what I want to say to anyone out there that's listening is, as I think back to those moments and connect with those moments now, I realized that those were the moments that made me get in tune with the woman in me. Those were even though they were hard and they were difficult, those were the things, like the start. And then as I grew up, there were other things, but those are the things that made me like say, hey, wait a minute, something is different. What is it? It kind of made me more aware and like trying to figure it out. And I would say that every single thing that we go through, and I think everyone should remember this, wherever you are, whatever stage of the game you are, or stage in life you are, every single thing, the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, all of it makes you who you are in this very moment. And I kind of like the person I am today. There's moments where maybe I have issues with things, but overall, I love myself now. And there was a time that I couldn't say that. So, yeah, that's how I look at it. Those moments helped me to get to where I am today. Ella?
Absolutely. It's, life is a journey, and you have to enjoy everything. And you're always learning. You're always learning in your
Yeah.
journey. Yeah.
Well, actually, I forgot. I decided I'm going to become a correctional officer.
Okay.
I'm playing.
Who wants to go next? Christian, you got your smile there.
I know. You're looking kind of handsome and hard, Christian. You're looking a little hard there. Hard.
I just noticed it. He shaved his head.
That's what it is. I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, why is he looking so like?
Yeah, you look
macho.
boy, oh boy.
I was actually, I literally like, probably like a half hour before we came on here, I cut my hair, and I cut the sides first, and then I was like, let me cut the other side. And I left the middle, and I had a mohawk, and I was like, I'm gonna come on the show with a mohawk. So I think next time I'll do that. So,
Yeah.
but Yeah, I was smiling because I couldn't help you saying that you're gonna become a corrections officer. I would love to see that, Raji.
Oh, please. Oh my God. Can you? I'd probably lose my mind.
You probably
Like,
have too much of you'd probably have too much of a fun time in there.
oh, maybe so. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
They'd probably love you.
Aw. You
Yeah.
always have a way of flattering me, Christian.
I don't even try. It's just the truth. That's all. But with when I found out when I was different or coming into my own, I kind of like Bonnie, like I was little too. I was really young, and I just noticed that I always was drawn to boy things and Legos and playing with trucks, and I loved my little Batman car that wasn't mine, it was my brother's. I used to always try to steal it though, and I'd get in trouble for it. And I remember like as young as when I can remember back as far as kindergarten, and I I used to I had hair, but like those classic movies where they're like kind of like try to fix their hair, so they'll like kind of spit in their hand a little bit and they'll like push their hair back. I used to do that. Whenever I saw a girl I liked, I knew I was attracted to girls ever since I was in kindergarten. Not first grade, kindergarten. And I just would remember like messing with the girls' blocks, and I would like, I was just so ruthless. I would like throw all their crap on the ground, and I guess it was because I had a crush on them, and I wanted attention, so that was the way to do it. When I was in, and I didn't see any problem with that. All my imaginary friends that were my, if I ever had any girl imaginary friends, they were, they were my girlfriend, not like my boyfriend. So I remember like that type of stuff, and that's like really young, probably like 5 or like 6 years old. And when I went to first grade, what really set the me up, like when I realized that I was different to everybody else, was when I made everybody in my first grade class, all the girls, my girlfriend. There was qualities about every single one of them that I liked, and I was like, oh, well, we got something to work with this one, this one, this one, this one.
You
And
player, you.
yeah.
A hound dog is what he should be saying.
Yes.
But I used to always like imagine like me holding her hand and giving him a kiss and on the cheek, and I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever. Like that I declared everybody my girlfriend, and nobody really seemed to like care. And I even went up. I was so bold that I went up to one of the girls' moms and I said, I want to have a play date with your daughter. So it was, it's just ever since then. And I noticed like I wasn't able to use the boys' bathroom, and I was kind of like, what the hell? Like this is, all my friends are going in there. I want to go in there too. So I did one day. I was like, I'm gonna use this bathroom now. So I went, I kind of like stumbled in there, and I saw like, guys use. This was in first grade. I saw them like using the urinal, and and it kind of like confused me because I guess little kids back then, like they didn't know how to like use the bathroom or whatever. One of them had like their instead of like just opening their fly, like one of them had like their butt cheeks out, and I was like, oh wow, like that's how they use the bathroom. Like that's crazy. Like I've never had to use the bathroom like that, And then when I saw that guy and I looked down, I see this guy's butt cheeks. I was like, oh, there's something wrong here. So I was like, I turned around, and I walked out, and so I just was like thinking about that all day. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like why do they use the bathroom different to me? And like what's going on? And that kind of like confused me, and it confused me even more. I had a play date with a friend, and we went in the backyard, and he had to use the bathroom, so he like went and peed behind a bush or something. And I kind of was standing away, and I saw that he didn't like squat down. He wasn't using like a toilet, and I was just like, that's how you use the bathroom? And he like told me like, well, how do you do it? And I was like, I told him how I did it, and then he like gave me a full instructional on how to do it. And I was like, well, how do you do it like that? And he told me like, all you do is just stand there and you just hold it and you go. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. So I went home. Inside, and I went and used the bathroom the way that he described it. It was so tough. It was really hard. It was like, and I tried it a couple more times.
Oh my God.
Like, it just wasn't the easiest thing. So,
I don't mean to interrupt, but I was with years ago a trans man who kind of stopped transitioning, but still, anyway, it doesn't matter. But that person, he could stand up and pee and control it. Just sharing in case there's other people out there, the trans men, it can be done. I seen it. I mean, it was incredible. Anyway, go ahead.
And then I guess like turning, I guess the heat, I guess like with me, it wasn't like one defining moment that kind of just like smacked it in my face. Like, oh, this is really like different. You're different. Like, I didn't really have that. Like, it kind of, for me was, the pot started to heat up. One of my girlfriends, not a girlfriend, like, because I wasn't out or anything, but I mean, I was in first grade, but one of my friends that was a girl came up to me and they gave me a kiss on the cheek when we were at recess one day. And I was like, I bet you can't do that again. And I like was playing like chasing, and she came and did it again to me. And I kind of like let her, and I was so happy. And then when I went home that day, I was in the car with my mom and I told her that story, and she kind of like was silent. And then she told me like, don't ever do that again, and made it really awkward. And I felt like from that day forward, I could never speak of that ever again to my mom. Like, that type of stuff was just off limits. I always have to keep that to myself. So that was like the first time that I started to feel like there was something wrong with how I thought and felt. How I coped with it, the same like Rajay. I went into my brother's room and I started dressing in all his clothes.
I knew we had a lot in common, Christian.
Yeah, we did.
I think most of us do the same thing.
I went in all his stuff. I looked through all his crap. I always was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. All these things that he had watches. I put them on when he was at work. I put his hats on. I put his shoes on, his nice Timbs and stuff. His 50 Cent gangster stuff that he used to wear and all that stuff. I used to listen to his music, everything. I tried to be his little clone. And I would do it in private. I knew enough to just do it in private. I knew enough that it was just not something that was something I could do amongst my family openly. So I used to do it in private a lot. And I kind of like, it was almost like practice, it's like I was practicing. And so I don't know what the other parts of the question are. I'm trying to answer that.
No, the other parts of you're doing very good, just remembering back what were the positive things and
the positive things. Well, I guess the positive thing is looking back now, I mean, at the time it was tough because I felt I was different. People want to belong, and I didn't really fit the mold. I was always different. I always colored outside the lines. My way of thinking, everything was always different compared to everybody else. And I thought, like, why the hell you have it so easy? You could just use the bathroom and you're happy with it seems like. How come you can just dress the way you want and you have like such ease going to the store and shopping? I used to have all these thoughts. But now that I kind of, I went through that phase, that growing pain phase, and on the other side of it now, I look back and I notice all the people around me to this day that like haven't gone through the things that us as trans people had to have gone through. They're suffering from not being authentic with themselves. They're suffering from trying to fit themselves into the mold of society and what other people think. They suffer at the hands of other people's opinions. I don't give a shit of what people think of me. It's none of my business. Go ahead, think whatever you want. I am myself. I'm happy. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my, my goals and succeeding. I'm getting after it. And I'm so unique and, weird, and I don't care. do whatever I want, listen to whatever I want. I treat people with kindness and understanding because of all the things I went through. When people aren't themselves and they're, lashing out, or maybe they're, kind of being insecure, I can understand and empathize with that. And I can connect with that person and hopefully turn that point in their life, where there's that sticking point in their life around, hopefully by being an example and leading, because I went through the jungle. Like we always, like how last time we were talking, you have to go through the jungle and master it in order to lead people when they're starting their path through the jungle. So I went through that jungle, I mastered it, and I'm on the other side, and I can teach other people that are dealing with these things. It might not necessarily be trans stuff, but if you're insecure and you're not being authentic with yourself, I 100% understand. So that's the positive about it. You go through it and give back.
But it is a process. Some people are not in the end phase yet. So, that's that's the thing about being transgender. We all at different phases. So, but you are already in a very, you know where you are now.
Mm-hmm. And I'm 1,000% happy with it. I wouldn't give it up for nothing. I won't take nothing back. At first I was like, what the fuck? I don't want to do this. Now, all the lessons I have, and I see the way that other people live their lives, and I'm just so blessed and thankful that I stuck with it. I persevered through it. I never killed myself. I never went and did anything, passive suicide or anything. I'm so happy that I never did anything like that to try to harm myself and put myself in a predicament that would ruin my life. I'm happy that, there's people out there that, unfortunately have situations like that. But it's, anybody that's considering any, the tough stuff that you're going to go through, it's worth it to stick it out. All the lessons that come from it, the character that gets built into you, it's just beyond what you can even imagine. It's immense. It's massive. So I don't know if there's anything else I have to answer, but that's all I got.
You are doing fine. Thank you, Christian. Jim, you want to tell something?
Sure. I will expand on what Christian was saying, and that adversity that's what builds character.
Absolutely.
And I know in my life, some of the memories that I have going way back as a young child, I was playing with my sister's Barbie dolls, and my parents wouldn't have anything with it. And so they ended up getting me these things called G.I. Joes, which were little soldiers that, that's kind of my first memory. But in my evolution, it wasn't, it took many, 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 many years for me to evolve to the person that I am now. And it was many, many, I looked at a motivational quote the other day, and it had two ladders. One ladder, the rungs, which are the little steps, were close together. And then the other ladder, the rungs were really far apart. And both ladders led to the same place. So in my evolution, it was a series of many, many, many little steps. From 20 years ago, from eyeliner to boobs. It took a long time. And through a gradual transition, a gradual evolution to the person that I am now, it was in steps. Some of us on this panel evolved later in life, myself and Ella, and Bonnie and Raji and Christian, you all evolved at a younger age. So in my case, being a slightly older person, I had to, in order to survive in the world, I had to program myself to be a dude, and to change that, to undo all the programming to my original system. So we're born with a predetermined program. In my case, I know that I was born trans. My mind didn't, all fetuses in the womb are female, and then it is when the fetus begins to develop testicles, the fetus's own testicles produce testosterone, and that there's a window right there for the brain of the fetus to develop into male. And I can't really, and it really doesn't even know, it doesn't even matter why I am the way I am. But in thinking about, like, why am I this way? I believe that when I was in my mother's womb, there was a glitch in the system where my own testicles didn't produce enough testosterone to program my mind as male. So I'm born this way, and then my parents were religious, very conservative. So I was programmed to be a boy, and then I joined the military, and I make my then I got to get a macho job, making my living with a chainsaw, and as I evolve through life, I now find myself being able to freely think without any obligation, without any outside influence on my thinking. And I'm like, hey man, I've been a chick the whole damn time. So that's where counseling and so on, and as we re-evolve into our true self, this like connecting to our real self, it's like Christian was saying, it's a total sense of freedom, a total sense of liberation, and that is in my, I think probably the greatest feeling that I feel in my own existence right now is the awesomeness of the what I'll share with people. Don't be afraid to be yourself, because you may surprise yourself. And then we put effort, exercise, diet, study, spiritual practice, all these things, giving back to the community, polish yourself, continue to evolve. There's things that we can do to improve ourselves on many, many, many levels, and you may surprise yourself with the person that you create. Ella.
Thank you very much. It's truly true. You have to, the steps, it takes a long time until you get where you are. I mean, until you get your final stage. Um, you know, my story is not different from most of the transgender people. I knew at the age of 5, like Jimmy, I mean, I was in a family which was very conservative. We are talking about, the early 60s. And I had 2 sisters and 1 cousin, which lived all girls. So my cousin was a girl too. So I always was tired to be like them. And I usually used to get their clothes. So when I was very young, what I always did was very simple. I would put their clothes underneath my PJs, and then I was to go to bed like that and sleep with all, their undies under my PJs. Well, as it turned out, I always got caught. And of course, the 60s, my mother used to go and, oh my God, you are a boy, you're not a girl. So punishment, 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 punishment. So, I tried to do, I felt miserable. I tried to be a boy. I tried to be a man afterwards. I had many, many very deep moments in my life because of that. And, sometimes I tried to commit suicide too, a couple of times. But, in the end, I had a wonderful life. I, in a way, you know, as Jimmy was telling with this post with the small steps and the big steps, life takes you sometimes to places which are not probably the ones you planned in the beginning, but it takes you there. in a way, I don't regret a single moment of my life. I had a wonderful life. I have three gorgeous children and one grandchild, which I couldn't have had if I would be, a transgender from the beginning. I mean, in that case, if I was at 5 years old, I would transgender at 5 years old. So I had a wonderful life. I don't regret a single thing. I do am very, very happy now that it came to that day and I told, no, I want to live my real self. I don't want to carry on with this fantasy of playing a game called being a man because that's not what I am. And I'm very, very, very happy that I did it. And I am my real self these days. And I transitioned too. I don't have any regrets. There's no going back. Absolutely no going back. But yes, when I was young, I had it a little bit rough because of my family and because my family was not able to accept me as a girl. Yes, it is true. It's much easier to be born a girl than to become one. It is a hard process to become one in all respects. But we learn on the way. The learning curve is so amazing. We learn people which are similar to us. We meet people, we learn so many things in our lives. And I mean, I'm sorry, whatever you are, isn't it somehow one of the goals to be here to learn? One of the goals to be here to be better? It is part of this. I think this is very much part. And I have to tell, being transgender means a lot, to learn a lot, means to, you know, to have a open mindedness and a life which is probably not so easy, but it is full of lessons and full of interesting things and courage and rewards too. A lot of reward as well.
Ella, I wanted to say something to our viewers. If you all notice, each and every one of us, even though our journeys are a little different, we all say that we connected when we were little kids,
Yeah.
4 and 5, innocent little kids, just being our authentic self and feeling our feelings authentically. So, anytime someone says, well, if you choose that life, if you choose to be transgender, I always say, no, transgenderism chose me. But what I did choose is to be real about who I am. That's the choice that we all have made sitting here before you. But yeah, we were all innocent children, just feeling the feelings naturally, authentically. And there's no way you can fake that. That's not fake.
I think that is a very important point that you just tell, Raji, because I mean, we already had sometimes, trans gurus and ask our followers, when did you knew about your transition? And I would say about 60 to 70% was before the age of 10,
Yeah.
and only a small part of it came a little bit later. But a very large part of us knew it then.
But for
But I
the
want,
record, if somebody decided that they felt that at a later age, don't let that make you feel like, you're not really, or that you're just as real as all of us. It just, your awareness came about later on in life. And so, not that you feel like, well, I'm not really a transgender. I didn't feel it when I was young. Anyway, I just wanted to share that, clear
yeah,
that up.
Yeah,
absolutely,
no,
yeah.
that's powerful, Bonnie, because that's so true. Some people connect with it later on, although I think it's always there. It's just that maybe the
Well, but
connection.
they don't connect with it till
Yeah,
later. That's all
yeah.
I'm saying.
No, but I think it is very, very important that you listen to yourself. And this is probably one of the most difficult things about being transgender is your own voice. Is that you actually can listen to your own voice, because some people just break that link. You have to listen to your own voice. Yeah. Hey, anything to add? I've done my part. um, anything to add to that?
Yeah,
Ron?
I was just gonna say, I think that's really impactful with, you know, knowing your own voice versus what society's trying to influence us to do. So much things that, you know, are being thrown our way. You know, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at this. Think this way, believe this. Think, you know, have an opinion about this particular thing this way. The way you're supposed to dress, the way you're supposed to act. Uh, is that what you want? And
Yeah,
always
but at
ask
a young age, you don't know the difference.
at a young
It's,
age, you don't.
you don't have a clue. You're learning everything.
But
Behavior
learn,
Absolutely. Yeah.
is learned.
But
but
you know,
learning to question that
I
is
think that
crucial.
I think learning to hear your voice is not only something you have to do at a young age. It's all throughout all your life, because that's what you are. That's, you know, it's something that not many people can do.
that that's because we have to develop a relationship with ourselves. And then as we cultivate and develop a relationship with ourselves, we have to learn to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
That inner dialogue that Ella was talking about. We have to trust our internal dialogue. We have to trust our thoughts, our own decision-making process. And if you don't trust yourself, well, then who the hell can you trust? And then you end up just being, I think it was Christian said last week, a real excellent Zig Ziglar quotation is, are you going to be a meaningful specific or a wandering generality? You know, so to be able to have a relationship with ourself and then trust our brain is my best friend. My brain is my greatest asset. I trust my thoughts. I'm able to organize my brain in such a way that I'm able to prioritize and function in my life in such a way that it takes me generally in a direction that I want to go. And so that's the whole concept of life is, you know, you have a direction, you trust your own instincts, your internal compass, you organize your mind and thoughts in such a way to help you turn all that into reality and then enjoy the ride. Ella.
Absolutely, absolutely correct. Yeah, what a wonderful discussion today. I really enjoyed it. I hope that you enjoyed it too. Any final words for this evening? If there's none, then bye everybody. It was really wonderful to have you, and we'll see you very shortly. Bye.